Welcome to the Legends of Kansas podcast with Chris Harris, the legend. My name's Brandon McAnderson. We are going to recap the KU versus K-State game. We're going to talk about what the struggles are and hopefully what some of the solutions are. Saturday wasn't just another loss. It was a kind of game that makes you look in the mirror. Kansas came into the Sunflower Showdown favored for the first time and walked away with the biggest loss in the Lance Leipold era. The problem was up front. The offense that once bullied people on the ground to the tune of 200 yards per game last season is down to 130 yards a game this season, the lowest under Leipold at Kansas. In the last 3 games, that number has dropped to 93.3 yards. That's just not a dip. That's a crisis. The sack rate tells the same story. 8% on the year for Kansas, almost double what it was back in 2021 at 4.5%, which was the previous high. Over the last 3 games, Kansas had given up sacks on 12% of its dropbacks. You can't operate offense when you're not winning at the line of scrimmage. On defense, it's a mirror image. The Jayhawks are allowing 200 yards per game, the most since 2022, and 237 yards per game over the last 3. Add that to slow starts. Kansas is averaging 2.3 points in the first quarter of the last 3 games, and those came off of a K-State special teams fumble that led to points. You start to see a pattern where Kansas is not starting well, and in the fourth quarter of the last 3 games, Kansas has 0 points. So they're not starting well, they're not finishing well, but this team is not broken. I do think it's disconnected. Homecoming gives you a chance to find your rhythm again, to get back to who you are, and Oklahoma State is also struggling. So Kansas will have an opportunity to right that ship. But before we get there, we got to recap what happened in the game and talk about what's next for the Jayhawks. Chris, welcome to the show, first and foremost. You were in town. It was great to see you with the family and enjoying the game. Rough outing. Just talk about your perspective, what you saw in the game, and just what happened.
I mean, I thought it was a great atmosphere, having all the fans there, seeing all the players come back, and you definitely want to see a better effort from the guys. And sometimes when you have the transfer portal and you have everything, a lot of guys moving around, the game might not mean as much to you as it might be to us, right, and the alumni guys. So when we see that type of effort, we kind of get discouraged a little bit. But just being on the sideline, those guys were trying. They were trying to get it right, trying to get things fixed. And sometimes games can go like that. You think you're going to come out hot. We get that turnover early. But then after that, that I think that fumble really killed us. That giving up that fumble score, allowing them to go up 14-7, and then we come out, don't do anything again on the next drive on offense, and they score again. That momentum right there, we just can't overcome it. We're not good enough to overcome that momentum right now, and that was pretty much the game for me. Big plays all over the field that K-State capitalized on, especially by number 1. What's his last name?
Brown.
Brown was killing us. We didn't have anybody that could cover him or could run with him right now, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, it's similar to what Leipold talked about last year about they don't have a margin of error that would allow them to make mistakes the way that they're making them right now, especially the way they're starting these games. Chris, over the last 3 games, Kansas has been beat in the first quarter 46-7. They've only given up 102 points during that period of time. So they've almost given up half of the points in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. So it's just hard to play from behind. It's hard to find an offensive identity. It's hard to have to throw when you're not pass protecting. And it's kind of like all these things are feeding into some of these struggles.
Well, what's the issue on that? Because, you said we're getting murdered in the first quarter, right?
Yeah.
So usually when we play, we always know that the coaches comes out with the best, your first 15 plays, right?
Right.
And we knew Coach Warner was going to dial some stuff up on his first 15. He might have something that you probably haven't seen, some new wrinkle, defensive wise. We used to come out something, defense that they might not have seen probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, on the first third down. Sometimes it's on the coaching on those parts. If it's the first quarter, let's look at the strategy in which we're going with. Is it the players? Are we not starting fast? Are we not bringing them something new in the first quarter? Are we being vanilla? What is it? Because we got to figure that issue out if we want to be able to win some games and finish strong.
Yeah, and I think this is a more talented team than last year. I kind of feel like they are collectively more talented if you go by position by position. Now, they don't necessarily have Kobe Bryant, a Melo Dotson that you can just throw out there outside, and that makes a difference. But
I don't think they're more talented.
You don't think as just overall?
No, just watching them and seeing the skill position. Even what was our receiver last year?
Luke Grimm.
Luke Grimm. We don't have a Luke Grimm. Even though we have a guy that can take the top off with Henderson. We don't have a Grimm, a guy that's very reliable. To JD that he can throw. He knows he's going to be open. Right. Skinner was a problem too. Yeah. Right. We got to give. I think we had a little bit more talent. If you look at the corner wise, the safeties were better last year. Only thing I could probably say we're better at this year is probably the linebacker position.
Yeah.
And that's, but the corner wise, it's a very big drop off. Yeah. Safeties is a major drop off. Receivers, I think it's a drop off too. So,
it's
hard to say.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I would say maybe I'm speaking from a pure talent perspective because you're talking about a receiving core last year. That trio had been together for 3-4 years. These guys had known each other incredibly well, and that makes a difference when you're in tough spots, when you need to finish. When you're in trouble and you're scrambling, like there's a cohesion and a rhythm that they had that this group couldn't possibly have, just because there's so many new guys stepping in. And your question about what is it the schematics, if you think about the last couple games, it's been both. It feels like it's been some self-inflicted stuff. You had the fumble on the second drive at Texas Tech. You had the drop by Keaton Quebeca on a first down catch. Both of those things happened in the Texas Tech game. Central Florida, turnover on downs near midfield, sack on the opening drive. So it's back to that margin of error. Can you survive a negative play on first down? Not right now. Can you survive a 2-yard gain on first or second down? Not right now. We just have not been able to convert on third down this year. And the drop off is stark. You're talking about a team that was converting over 50% of those third downs is now down to 30% and is 122nd in the nation. So it's not just a struggle relative to the Big 12. It's a struggle to everyone playing college football. And it's always going to be a struggle when you're in 3rd and 7+. I know as a DB, you lick your chops on 3rd and 7+, because now you can make a play. Now you're in the game. And that's where Kansas has not been able to overcome some of the struggles with O-line. Schematically, I went ahead and charted all the run plays just to get a feel for what they're doing and what they're struggling with. One of the things we talked about is just not having Devin Neal. And I say that because this duo system that they're running, the 3 double teams essentially up front, sometimes with a tight end seal, it essentially gives a running back a two-way go. For a guy that's elusive like Devin Neal, you saw him take advantage over and over and over, because he could play that cat and mouse, play that peekaboo, and then burst out to the outside. And Daniel's not that kind of player. He's a more straightforward player. And even when he's making you miss, it's more about getting you off balance than making you miss entirely. So I think there is a little bit of that from a schematic standpoint, that is just that duo style of run was a better fit for Devin than it is for this set of backs.
But I feel like Highshaw has to break like 3 tackles before he can get up the field anyways for a lot of the plays, right?
Oh, yeah.
He never gets like a clean hole. No. Devin at least has some clean holes. He had a couple, you know what I mean? Yeah. But Devin also made the first guy miss.
Yep.
And I see Highshaw is making the first guy miss, but he has to break by 2 other tackles, after that. So I like Highshaw. I'm not saying this scheme doesn't fit him, but I think we can get some more power runs, right? These, the duo is for a more, like a running back we got coming in next year, KD Jones from Jinx, Oklahoma. Now he's going to be a problem next year. That's going to fit Lance's system. That's going to be able to, have that Le'Veon Bell type patience in the hold and then burst, kind of like Neil and Le'Veon. Those Alvin, they're all kind of similar with that patience. And we just, Highshaw's not that type of running back.
Yeah.
So I would, like you're saying, let's kind of change up the scheme to let's get some more power runs, some more downhill running that might fit him better. We got to get some running production.
Yeah, and it's too simple to just talk about Highshaw's fit because, like you said, he can do these things. He is making people miss. He is breaking tackles. So what is it? I think one of the issues has been just up front. They just not played well. Bryce Foster was a first-team All Big 12 selection last year. He's not played at that level. Kobe Baines was a guy, I think the opening 3 games of the season, he was a top-rated guard in the country. He does not played well. They've had a hard time with that left guard spot with Amir Herring and a couple other guys. Calvin Clements has struggled at the point of attack, a younger player that just doesn't have enough weight and in his base right now to move people. And like you mentioned, duo is about moving people. And if you're not moving people, there's nowhere to go. And that's what you're seeing, especially with one of the things that's really struck me about running style is I was a true zone back. And I use my eyes and my posture to help my offensive line stretch guys out of gaps, have that idea that if I'm a 3 technique and it's a play side run, this guy could outrun me. But when you're running duo and you're running straight down the center, that guy can just anchor there because he knows I don't actually have to move. And if I'm in control and my hands are inside, I can actually just toss this guy and get off and make a play. And you're just seeing a lot of guys, as I charted it, it's like left guard, beat inside, running back, miss the cut, tight end power, tight end misses the lead side back, the front side backer. So it's a lot of self-inflicted, a lot lack of execution. And some of it, like you mentioned, is maybe time to try another scheme to see if what fits the offensive line and the running backs better. And the hard part about this is, this is coming off of a bye week. And these were problems that we had in the previous weeks. And this is a staff that I trust. And I'm excited to see some ways that maybe they can start to right this ship on the run game and start to figure out ways that they can get productivity on the ground. Because it always seems too simple to be like, man, JD really struggled, or this isn't a good fit, or this is a full team execution problem from run game to pass game, and they just have not been sharp enough. Let's flip the field. Let's talk about that defense where you're very well versed. Now we're very multiple on defense. We run a lot of sets, a lot of fronts, a lot of personnel groupings, and I'm curious if we're doing a little too much. It just seems like sometimes in pass, we're missing. I think we cut a China concept loose against K-State, which is it's a day one install. And some of these like simple concepts that Kansas State was running, flooding cover 3, which is something everybody's hit us with this season. What are you seeing on defense? What things would you like to see changed or adapted to fit the scheme?
Man, that's the lack of execution. The scheme wise was kind of I had a lot of questions on it. I'm trying to be, I don't want to be too harsh, or be too down on KU, but just seeing the way we played K-State, I think we were kind of timid. We weren't fast off the ball. The DNs were kind of thinking too much. They're running quarterback run or read, and our guys are, thinking like, who do I have? No, you should know who you have and go hit it. Right. And the linebacker scrapes and we're running. You know what I mean? We're not doing that. It's not, I see motioning and I don't see communication. It's just like guys are just playing and it's no talking. Corners just playing no man's land, no technique. Safeties, no, we have no playmaker back there right now. And you got to have some guys that can communicate and be playmakers in college at the safety position. It's very crucial in the college game. And because they do a lot of motionings, a lot of weird formations, and the game's wide. It's wide open. You got to be able to tackle in space, right? Our linebackers were just hitting the holes, and they weren't waiting. They were running duos, and our linebackers were just shooting one of the gaps, and they were choosing the other gap and running through it. It was a lot of issues. We have a lot of issues on defense. That I wish I was there to kind of help. I'm just saying, but a lot of issues that got to get cleaned up, and we got to hurry up. We got to get it cleaned up fast.
Yeah.
I wish we could have blitzed this guy all game. I wish we could have heated this dude up. Mm-hmm. If we're going to give up yards anyways, we might as well blitz this guy. And, we played a lot of cover too. I'm very surprised playing a lot of cover. That shows me our coach does not believe in our secondary right there to play a lot of coverage like that. So I was watching very closely. And just defensive-wise, we got a lot of things to work on. We don't have an identity, a lot of things, man. And hopefully we can get it cleaned up for the rest of the year.
Yeah. And, DK is a first-year defensive coordinator, and he's going to take his lumps. It's not going to be easy. So he's going to have to adapt and figure out things that fit the scheme and things to start to get some of this turned around. Now, from your perspective, we talked about the execution on offense and the lack thereof, and I went into depth with some of those points. Now, when we see that zone read, like you mentioned, where there's confusion about when to attack, what to attack, how does that get sorted out midseason? Because you played through a similar stretch. In 2009, you guys started 5-0, and then you were 5-2, and everything was, some couple close losses. Nothing that really happened crazy or anything like that. You drop one to Texas Tech, you drop one to Kansas State. Now you're at 5-4. What do you wish could have happened for that team to right the ship, and what do you hope to see for this team that's in a similar place right now?
Man, we just couldn't close out games, and that was the issue with that team. Mm-hmm. But with this team, it's just, they have a lot to fight for. A lot of these guys are fighting for, a lot of times college football is a year-to-year contract, right? You're fighting to still be on this team. You're fighting to show that you belong here. So right there, you got to fight for your name. And then, you got to show that I think these guys do get along. I think they do have I see you do. That's what I want to see. I want to see the relationships. I've seen that, on the sideline. I wish we can get a little bit more fiery, and get a little bit more enthusiasm over there. But I do believe they do like each other there. So that's the one thing. You got to have a team that likes each other, and I think that's why we won, right? We had a lot of guys, a lot of great relationships there, that's the first thing. But we got to get an identity. We got to know when we turn on the TV. Oh, okay, we know KU. They're gonna blitz. They're gonna play man. They're gonna be scrappy. That's their identity right now. What is the identity? Right. When you turn on the Kansas defense, when I turn on Texas Tech, I know them boys are coming off the edge.
Right.
I know they're bringing some pressure. Right. They're gonna have different looks. I'm not getting that right now. And I think so. That just shows me we're still kind of searching to see what we have. And I know we have guys that are talented and have the ability to do it. I'm looking at the size of these corners that we have. Yeah. They're big corners, right? These guys are 6'1", that can run. But right now they're just kind of second guessing themselves.
Yeah, there's some hesitation for sure, especially on the defensive side. But you see some of that on the offensive side as well. But like you mentioned, all is not lost. This is a good team. This is a connected team. You hear the stories about peer leadership and the things that they want to do and the things they want to create. And you mentioned playing year to year, but you want to play football. You want to play pro football. You got to win. You got to be on a winning team. That makes a huge difference in terms of how you're evaluated. And I always draw back to our Orange Bowl team who had 6 people drafted, 3 other people signed free agent contracts. It's not because we drink the juice. It's because we won 12 games. When you win games, that appeals to the pro. They want winners, and these guys can be winners. And then I think they can get off of this side and start to get this thing redirected towards a win. And this is a good opportunity to do it. You got a team in Oklahoma State coming in that's on an interim coach, has a bunch of quarterback problems, has a familiar face at DC that we both know well, Clint Bowen, who's got that defense playing better. So that's going to be a challenge. I hope people realize that this is not a bad roster at Oklahoma State. These are not bad players. These are good players. They're just going through something. So it's not as if they can't win. Oklahoma State can win. in Lawrence. So Kansas is going to have to be good. They're going to have to be connected, and they're going to have to figure out some of these things with execution, some of these things with schematics to start to get it turned. Now, what does that look like right now for a 4-0 finish to the season, for the potential to be 8-4, vie for a good bowl game? Just, we've talked about the stats. We've talked about where they're down. We're talking about where the execution has faltered. For you to look back here in 4 weeks and see a team that's found its rhythm and started to look like the team we expected them to be, what do you want to see in this coming game?
I think JD's gonna have to play a lot better. He's gonna have to throw the ball more accurate. There was times Coach did have some, great play calls. Guys were open. He just overthrew them.
Yeah.
So I think these next couple of weeks, we need him to be on point. Accuracy. If we got guys open, you got to be able to fit those balls in because, like you said, the margin of error is very slim. So that's the main thing I want to see. I want to see him get back in the rhythm, him back making those good throws, and that's what it's going to take for us to win these next 4 weeks. So O-line getting back nasty, getting those run games back open. And D-line, get back to the pressure, right? Get back to being able to cause havoc on the quarterback. That slowed down a lot, right? And we need to get that back going because it looked very promising versus Missouri.
Absolutely.
And early on in the season, I'm like, oh, we got a D-line,
Yeah.
But that's kind of slowed down the last couple of weeks. So we need to pick that back up. And for us to do that, it's just getting back to the fundamentals, get back to the simple things and making sure you know what you're doing out there on the field.
Yeah, your question about Kansas defensive identity, our opponent, K-State, they've played the same for 10, 15 years. They're going to play close to your receivers. They're going to be aggressive, and they're going to dare you to throw the ball over their heads. Now, sometimes people throw the ball over their heads, and they lose those games, but that's their strategy. That's the way that they play. And they came in and did what you'd expect them to do, and they had a lot of success doing it. And like you mentioned, it wasn't just like schematic issues. The play that sticks out to me was the last 4th and 10, 35-17. There's about 10 minutes left. Kansas State had 10 people on the field, and the 11th guy was running onto the field from the numbers and had Broden Gruen, our tight end, who was running a drag, who was wide open. And JD shot a quick back shoulder fade to E-Man, and it was incomplete, and that was pretty much the end of the game. But it was a microcosm of JD's eyes just never got right in that game, and there just was a execution piece that was missing. Now, I will say he's probably the person I'm worried about the least. We've seen him in every scenario, under every type of offensive line, and he's always found a way to do it. One of the things I thought was interesting, though, was under Leipold, even when they had Kotelnicki, different versions of this team, man coverage has given them trouble. Man coverage gave the last iteration of receivers trouble. What they used to do to counteract it was option. So one of my favorite games for this regime was down at Houston in 2022. They were down 14-0. Houston had a really good defense. They started playing man and kind of just beating us up. And they went to that option game, and it just like that. JD took over. And for me, over these next 4 games, I want to see option. Because the only reason for not running option would be to protect JD, but JD's getting hit all the time. He's getting hit when he throws the ball. He's running 3-4 quarterback sneaks out of necessity, scrambling. I think he had 9 carries for 59 yards. He was a big factor running the football. So we're at the point of the season where his physical protection is not realistic. So what's the thing that he does best? Option. This guy can really run option. He can really see it. He can really distribute it. And they got weapons. It changes the way they play. Like, one of the staples for this team has been that fake option throwback. You've seen it work over and over again with Jason Bean, with JD. We ran it in that game. We got sacked. And we don't run option anymore. So I know when they see that speed option look, they know it's going to be a pass. And I just would like to see some of the option requires you to play assignment sound football. And like you mentioned, identity. One of the things about Kansas football under Leipold has been them forcing teams to play sound football, not with just the motions, but with options, with hurry up, where they would get a big play, hit those tight ends down the middle. It was a constant test of your eye discipline, constant test of your gap discipline. And this
Well, it
year
looks like
hasn't
we
been
might
that.
have the OC back. Well, he might get a head coaching job. Well, it's gonna be so many jobs open.
Oh,
but
man.
I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back.
It would not be surprised at all. And so I know for me, for Kansas to take that next step to start to push forward and put themselves back in this, I think option would be a big part of that. And to your point about pressure, this is a team that has had, starting with Lonnie Phelps, has basically had a first or second team edge every year. And this year we're not, Leroy's had production and he's been good in spots, really good in spots. So I'm not giving up on these guys. There's plenty there, but somebody is going to have to make a surge over these next 4 games. If you had to pick a guy to kind of lead the surge on the defensive line, who would you pick?
Just looking at those boys, I would say Leroy is probably the most athletic guy that we got, size wise. But he's still thinking. He's still learning the game, and
young player,
still young. And once he gets it, he's going to be a problem, right? I think he has a lot of promise. Definitely talented. I like the linebackers. I think we have 2 nice linebackers. We got to learn we can use them even more. Right, we can blitz them out of nowhere, a double A gap. I mean, it's a lot of games when you have linebackers like that you can play. Twist them. You can do a lot, man, and that's what I want to see. I want to see those 3 guys take over. I need a safety to step up. Right, last year we had Lassner. Right, we had Lassner. Who was our safeties? Lassner.
Because last year we had Marvin Grant. We had OJ Burrows. OJ was very good.
Yeah, Burrows was a monster last year. Right, we're definitely missing him. So we need somebody to step up in that, in the middle of the field. My right corner, I need him to play better. He's still, still young corner, but we still need him to pick it up going on for the rest of the year. But if those 3 main guys, Leroy Harris and both my linebackers, continue to take their game up to another level these next couple of weeks, KU defense has a shot to, turn it around.
Yeah, and I'll take the same question on the offense. For me, it starts up front with Bryce Foster. I think this guy, coming into the season, people had him the second-rated center for the draft, and he earned that. By the way, he played not just here, but at Texas A&M. Had a great year last year. This is the guy that's got to get going. I mean, this guy was one of the best players in the Big 12 last year, bar none. Regardless of position. And he just hasn't been that. You watch him on film and he's not getting to the second level. There's communication breakdowns where they're running duo. It's a simple look and they're just not blocking the right guy. I think the most troubling thing for me was how often K-State got home on twists, like guard center twists. They did a double A twist, and ultimately the offensive line was off levels. They're not getting depth. So when we're talking about twist stunts, listeners, the offensive line has to be next to each other to pass it off. If you play with bad technique and you're a little bit too forward, you're not going to be able to adjust to pass it off. So now they can use that space to get behind you and make it hard for JD, make it hard for the back. That first 4th down where JD ended up fumbling, that was a twist stunt where he stacked the center, running back committed to the wrong guy, and he simply just ran through and made the play. So these are not complex systems. They're not complex blitzes or looks. And a guy like Bryce Foster, who's played in the SEC, played the Big 12, seen every defense there is, it's not complicated for him. So I think it's just a matter of him playing better and his guard mate, Kobe Bain. These guys were supposed to be the foundation of this offensive line. These guys are good players. These are guys that I thought and still do think they have Sunday futures. But if they're going to prove that, the time is now, because this is, you're going to see good defensive lines in Oklahoma State. You're going to see a good defensive line in Utah and Iowa State. If you want to be a Sunday player, this is the time to prove it.
Especially Utah.
Yes, Utah's got some dogs.
Utah starting quarterback is from Tulsa, man. Keep telling y'all, man. People got to start going back and taking it serious out there.
You gotta listen to Chris Harris on the Tulsa, man. Tulsa's got this thing jumping. What
about the DB, the corner that just decommitted, man. That was tough. You know, what was the guy, JJ?
JJ Dunnigan. I would say that that was tough. That was tough.
We lost 2 games, man. We lost K-State and we lost the top corner, man. So
man,
it's a bad weekend for us.
It's tough because this guy's like a special talent with a special skill set, 6'4", 210 pounds, can catch a wide receiver screen, take that to the house, can play the alley from 15 yards away, just run it, tackle people. He's a guy with the potential to play both ways. So it hurts. And but what losses do is they reinforce urgency. And you work with kids this age. You understand they got to be looking out for themselves in a different way than they did when we were playing college football. We're not talking about how much more you like the campus. we're talking about your professional football future. You're talking about money right now, not per diem. We're talking about life-changing money for these top 100 guys, these top 125 guys. And that's what this guy is. And he's got to look at everything in a different way. I'm sure he loves this place. I'm sure this is the right fit schematically for him, but this guy's got other things to consider.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you got to win. The pressure is on these coaches, right? The buyouts. I mean, these people don't care anymore. Right. We're seeing LSU coach getting bought out, Penn State, UCLA, all these guys, there's spots everywhere. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, been there 20-something, 30 years. All these guys, the season is not even over yet. Right. It's already big national schools open already. Right. So I think it's pressure on Leipold too. Sad to say, but hey, you got to win this game versus Oklahoma State at home. This is a must win for the Jayhawks this week. So they got to get it done.
Yeah, man. There is a lot of pressure. That was a rough loss. Like I said, like he said, and this isn't a guy that speaks in hyperbole. Leipold said this was a huge step back, and they're going to need to take a huge step forward to try to relieve this pressure just across the program in general and get back on track, because an 8-4 season is still in play. There's not a game on their schedule that they can't win, but there is not a game on their schedule they can win if they execute and play the way that they did last Saturday against Kansas State, which was just a tough one. Well, thanks for joining us again on the Legends of Kansas podcast. I'm Brandon McAnderson. That's Chris Harris. We'll catch you next week.